Hello everyone and welcome to our educational session. My name is Paul Arsov and I'm the founder of the Decentralized Web project. I'm going to talk about the project in the end of this presentation, but the topic today is dealing with scarcity and the end of expecting a good life. The topic touches on psychology and everyday living. And for example, have you walked one day in your local supermarket hoping to find a carton of egg for your daily breakfast of, for example, poached eggs, and instead you found an empty shelf? So when you ask a staff member when the eggs would be restocked, they could reply unknown today. And you can stare them for a second, probably not that surprised, but also realizing that you have no plan B. This kind of scene has been playing out across many countries in the world, in many parts of the world, with eggs one of the most basic grocery staples, suddenly becoming difficult to find. The egg shortage has become an unlikely symbol of consumer anxiety, sparking the same existential dread as the sight of a bare toilet paper shelves during the early days of COVID. The reaction to this type of shortages tells us far more than we might expect, not just about eggs, but bird flu or food supply chains, but about consumer psychology, convenience culture, and how we process economic uncertainty. At first glance, egg shortage may seem trivial. Eggs are just one product, aren't they? If they're unavailable, why not simply eat something else? But as behavioral economists and psychologists will tell you, scarcity has an outside impact of the way we interpret the world. Lack of eggs doesn't just mean a slight inconvenience for our breakfast. It signals something much deeper, a sense that the system we rely on aren't as stable as we assumed. For most of us, the egg shortage serves as what psychologists call a heuristic, a mental shortcut that shapes our broader perceptions. When something as mundane as sex becomes difficult to obtain, it triggers a feeling that something is fundamentally not working. This in turn feeds into larger anxieties about inflation, the economy, the cost of living, and supply chain vulnerabilities. Unlike the COVID-19 shortages, which eventually felt expected due to global disruptions, the current egg shortage appears at a time of relative normalcy. This makes it even more unsettling. It reinforces the growing sentiment that we're living in a precarious times where costs are rising and once reliable comforts are slipping beyond reach. Just as empty shelves of toilet paper symbolized pandemic panic, the absence of eggs now embodies concerns about cost of living. Of course, not everyone is X, but the shortage still resonates because it exposes the fragility of the supply chains that provides for us. Supermarkets have long been temples of abundance. Walking into one and seeing whole sections depleted is a stark reminder that our expectations of constant availability may be flawed. At its core, the egg shortage challenges one of the defining features of modern consumer culture: convenience. We have built an entire economy and way of life on the assumption that we can get what we want when we want it. Apps deliver our groceries within hours, restaurants serve breakfast all day, and fruit and vegetable products um, are available year-round, regardless of seasonality or country of origin. So this is stark contrast to how people shopped in previous generations. Not so long ago, walking into a local market meant asking the grocer what is fresh today, rather than handing over a predetermined list of must-have ingredients. The idea that supermarkets should always be stocked with every item we want is relatively new expectation fueled by globalization and just-in-time supply chains. But when shortages occur, um, whether it's eggs, baby formula, or medicines, we are forced to confront how fragile the system actually is. The modern consumer has been conditioned to see availability as a right rather than a privilege. When that expectation is disrupted, it triggers a psychological response far greater than the actual inconvenience of missing a single ingredient. One of the most fascinating aspects of scarcity is the way it alters consumer behavior. In particular, in psychology, known as the scarcity effect, tells us that when something becomes rare, we automatically perceive it as more valuable. This is why some shoppers who see a long carton of eggs on a non otherwise barren shelf will instantly buy it, even if they don't really need it. This is also why we see parallels between the egg shortage and COVID era panic buying of toilet paper. Once people notice an item is disappearing, they begin to wonder whether they should stock up too. And just like that, a self-fulfilling cycle of hoarding begins. And then there's the just noticeable difference theory, which suggests that small changes in prices often go unnoticed, but larger shifts alter consumer habits. If eggs rise in price by 50 cents, people may not react. But if a cafe suddenly charges $5 more for scrambled eggs on toast, people may start reevaluating whether eggs are a necessity or a luxury. Much of consumer behavior is dictated by perception rather than reality. Most people don't engage deeply with supply chain economics or agricultural politics. Instead, they react emotionally to what they see in their immediate environment. An empty egg shelf isn't just an empty shelf, it is a warning sign that the world may be not functioning as smoothly as we are assuming. The way people respond to shortages is also revealing. Some seek alternative solutions, broadening their shopping habits, or even keeping backyard chickens. Others simply go without, temporarily adjusting their diets. And then there are those who bend their own ethical rules. The debate over caged versus free-range eggs is a case in point. Many consumers strongly prefer free-ranging eggs, seeing them as more humane option. But in a shortage, will those same consumers abandon their principles if the only available option is caged? Research suggests that while some will hold firm, many will compromise, justifying their choice as a temporary deviation. In the small but telling example of how convenience often takes precedence over ethics when push comes to shove. Another issue to consider is the broader cultural response. Um, so there are some people which we would call compliant complainers, quick to grumble but ultimately adaptable. Unlike other cultures who might take to the streets in protest when faced with economic injustice, many countries in the world, especially wealthy countries, tend to express frustration but then simply adjust their habits. This is partly why, despite the significant impact of rising costs, there hasn't been widespread civil unrest. The egg shortage, like so many other cost of living issues, is also being talked up by politicians and the tabloid press as being an issue around modern spending habits and the expectations of contemporary life. For years, those people who may be struggling have been taught that their financial distress comes from frivolous spending. The implications is that economic hardship is a personal failing rather than the result of structural change to the economy. But this argument crumbles in the face of reality. The cost of living crisis, for example, has not hit everyone equally. It has disproportionately affected those who were already struggling. Low-income families, single-parent families, casual gig workers, renters, and people with disabilities. For these groups, rising prices are not an abstract frustration but a direct threat to their ability to afford housing, food, and other essentials. For many, the idea of cutting back on luxuries is meaningless because they were never spending on luxuries in the first place. The usual advice, work harder, spend less, be more disciplined, ignores those deeper economic realities. Wages have stagnated, rental prices have soared, food costs are all record highs, and job security has eroded. A person working multiple low paid insecure jobs have not have the same ability to absorb financial shocks as someone with a stable, well-paying career. And yet, much of the public discourse around cost of living pressures still treats it as a problem on budgeting rather than of structural inequality. Even among those with relative financial security, the impact of inflation varies. Those with assets, like homeowners, for example, may feel the pinch of high mortgage rates, but they're not expecting the same existential economic anxieties as renters who have not control over soaring housing costs. Meanwhile, those who live pay to pay have no buffer when the costs of necessities rise. They are the ones forced to make impossible choices between heating and groceries, between rent and medical expenses. This is not just a general issue. While young people face particular challenges such as housing unaffordability and precarious job market, the real divide is between those with power and privilege and those without. And yet the conversation remains focused on easy scapegoats. The problem, we're told, is that people are spending too much on brunch or on takeaway coffee or on small luxuries. But the real issue is that for a growing number of people, even basic necessities like dozen eggs are becoming less accessible as rising demand and supply constraints drive up prices and limit availability. With egg shortage, what this reveals is not just a supply chain, that the supply chain are fragile, but that the economic environment itself is shifting. Um, Essentials are becoming luxuries. The things we once took for granted, things like cheap groceries, affordable homes, and stable jobs, are increasingly out of reach for many. The problem is not that people are failing to manage their money wisely, it is that they are being asked to pay um, and play by a set of rules that no longer makes sense. And the heart of these shifts is a broader conversation about consumption itself. We live in an era of mass production, rapid turnover, and a transactional mindset that prioritizes short-term gain over long-term sustainability. The current crisis is a reminder that not everything can be endlessly supplied. A chicken can only lay a finite number of eggs. An avocado tree can only produce so much fruit. But our economic models are built on the assumption of endless growth. There is something fundamentally flawed about this equation. In many ways, younger generations may be better equipped to handle these shifts, having grown up in a world of economic instability. They are more accustomed to scarcity and adaptation than their parents, who came of age in more prosperous times. And that does make the reality any easier. The egg shortage won't last forever, but it's a symptom of wider and larger problem, one that will only become more pressing in the years ahead. Climate change, resource depletion, and shifting economic structures will make certain commodities more volatile. The question is not just how we react to these shortages, but how we prepare for them. And there is no easy fix. but a meaningful first step would be acknowledging that we have been living in an era of extraordinary abundance, one that may not be sustainable in the long term. If the egg shortage has taught us anything, it is that we must learn to be more adaptable, more thoughtful about what we consume, and more willing to let go of the illusion of endless supply. And with this said, I'm ending this presentation, and I'm coming back to the beginning of this presentation when I told you that my name is Paul Arsov and I'm the founder of the Decentralized Web project. I'd like to tell you about it and several other projects that we're working on. But first, the Decentralized Web project builds a decentralized communication and advertising platform. As I just said, it is monetized through advertising. The project has its own blockchain instance, and this blockchain instance has rewards for people joining our decentralized web platform. It has rewards for people who joined, who then invite other people to join, and they're rewarded with tokens on our blockchain. And also people who are using our platform, they receive tokens for viewing advertisement on our platform. With this said, I'd like to tell you that the meaning we put in decentralization in our decentralized web platform is different than the meaning which blockchain technology puts in decentralization. Blockchain technology has multiple and fundamental flaws which prevent it from becoming a driver of decentralization. What we have in our implementation of decentralization is direct communication from user to user without going through a third party, namely a server, which collects information and distributes this information to users. With this said, I like to tell you the name and the URL of this project. It is decentralizedweb.org. Decentralized and web, these are two words which are typed all together. Then there is dot and it ends with org. Once again, decentralizedweb.org. With this said, I'm going to the next project I like to tell you about and that we're working on and that we released. It is it has built and released marketplace and collection of NFTs based on three-dimensional objects. With three-dimensional objects, there has to be special software which loads and displays the 3D object, and in this project we have we decided to build our own 3D software engine, and this 3D software engine, what it does, it reads the file of the 3D object, then it displays a window on a computer screen, it displays the 3D object, and then it starts moving this 3D object in a random way, in a way of animating this 3D object. But in addition to these basic and essential capabilities, our 3D software engine has multiple additional capabilities. The first additional capability of our 3D software engine is the capability of speaking. Our 3D NFTs can speak in one of three different voices. The 3D NFTs can speak either in a male voice or in a female voice. or in a whisper kind of a voice. In addition to the three basic voices, there are three different flavors of voices. The 3D NFTs can speak either in normal speed or in a slow speed or in a fast speed manner. And if we pick NFT with a male voice and it is speaking in a slow speed manner, then this voice can come as the voice of a very masculine person or the voice of an old person. If on the other hand we take a female voice and it is spoken in a fast speed manner, then this voice can come as the voice of a little girl or the voice of a funny person. The next additional important capability for our 3D NFTs is the capability of voice recognition. The 3D NFTs can recognize voice commands, and if for example, we have a 3D NFT moving and being animated in a random fashion, then we can issue our very first voice command to the 3D NFT to stop moving. And then the 3D NFT is going to stand still and stop moving. We can issue following voice commands to the 3D NFT to move left, then move right, move up, then move down, zoom in, zoom out, rotate. And then the 3D NFT is going to fulfill each one of these separate voice commands and move left, then move right, move up, then move down, come closer, zoom in, go further away, zoom out, and start rotating. Then the next additional important capability of our 3D NFTs is the capability of them having a basic artificial intelligence. Wow, really wow. You can ask the 3D NFT what is your name, and the 3D NFT is going to reply in voice with their name. You can ask the 3D NFT who are you, and then the 3D NFT is going to reply in few sentences of who they are. You can ask the 3D NFT to describe something, and then the 3D NFT is going to reply and describe in few sentences of the thing you asked. The next actually last additional important capability of the 3D NFTs is the capability of them being displayed in a way of stereoscopics. What stereoscopics means is that part of the 3D NFT is going to be displayed in red or reddish colors, and another part of the 3D NFT is going to be displayed in blue or cyan colors. Then you can come to our 3D NFT marketplace, and now is the time to tell you the name of the website and the URL of this site. It is 3dnft.decentralizedweb.org. 3D NFT is typed in a way of the number 3 followed by the letter D followed by 3 other letters NFT, and it is typed all together 3D NFT. Then there is dot, then there are two words, decentralized and web, and they're typed all together. Decentralized web, then there is dot, and it ends with org. Once again, 3D NFT. 3D NFT dot decentralizedweb.org. On the when you when you click when you bring up the website, and then you are going to see a number of links on the top of the main page and every other page. One of these links points to links to accessories. When you click on this link, then you're going to see that we're offering special glasses When you click and order one pair of these glasses, you're going to see that one lens of these glasses is red and the other lens of these glasses is blue cyan. You can put these glasses on. You can request displaying the 3D NFT in a way of stereoscopics, and you're going to see the 3D NFT as coming out of the flat two-dimensional computer screen, and you're going to see it in real 3 dimensions. With this said, I'm ending talking about our 3D NFT collection and our 3D NFT software engine. But I like to tell you about our 3D NFT marketplace. In our 3D NFT marketplace, we have our own blockchain instance, and it runs Ethereum virtual machine software, which is the same software which runs on Ethereum mainnet, on Binance Smart Chain, on Avalanche Savax chain, on Polygon Matic chain, and many others. Famous and not so famous blockchains. But by having our own blockchain instance, then we do not charge our users for deployment of the smart contracts for non-fungible tokens, and we do not charge our users for transactions of transfer of ownership from one user to another user. By having our own blockchain instance, also we allow our users to buy and receive proceedings from sale in multiple crypto coins. Currently, the choices include Solana Sol, Polygon Matic, Avalanche Avax, and Qcoin, which is a big centralized crypto exchange. They have a coin called KCS. But in addition to buying and selling in crypto, we have a second parallel and independent way of buying and selling, and it is entirely done in fiat currency. You, the user, can come to the website, click on the collection of 3D NFTs, then click on one 3D NFT that you like, and then you're going to see a short video of the 3D NFT as it is moving, and below this you're going to see a drop-down menu with choices of select for way of payment, 4 choices of crypto, and 5th choice of paying with fiat currency. So let's say you select payment with fiat currency, and then when you click on the button to advance next, you're going to be presented with a screen where you see that you have to put the number of your debit or credit card, expiration date, CVC, and when you click on the button to make the payment and purchase of 3D NFT, then you're going to what is going to happen is there is going to be a transaction and transfer from your national fiat currency to US dollars, and the payment is going to be deposited in our bank account in US dollars. Then we are going to follow with a transaction and transfer of the initial ownership from our 3D NFT marketplace to you, and now you become user of this 3D NFT. You can play with the 3D NFT for a while, and then you can decide to put the 3D NFT for sale. You can decide on the price that you want to put for sale, and let's say there's a second user who comes to our 3D NFT marketplace. They browse through the 3D NFTs, and then they click and choose in particular the 3D NFT that you put for sale. They're going to go through the same motions of choosing to pay between 4 choices of crypto and 5th choice of paying with fiat currency. when they select paying with fiat currency, then there is going to they have to put in the same way the number of the debit or credit card expiration date, CVC, and when they click on the button to make the payment, then what is going to happen is there's going to be a conversion from their national fiat currency, which could be different from your national fiat currency, and the payment is going to be converted to US dollars and deposited in our bank account. We're going to follow this with transaction and transfer of ownership from you to the second user, and now the second user becomes owner of this 3D NFT. Then we're going to have a transaction and conversion from US dollars to your national fiat currency, and the transaction is going to be deposited in your bank account in your national fiat currency. With this said, I'm ending talking about this project, and I'm going to the next project I like to mention that we are working on, and it is in development. This project is building charging products for electric vehicles, and we estimate that the number of electric vehicles on the road is going to start rising exponentially, and there's going to be increased difficulties in having these electric vehicles charged in the way the current electric vehicles are charged. The way current electric vehicles are charged, it resembles the way internal combustion engines are charged, where the internal combustion engines are coming to gas stations. They put a fuel hose to their gas tank of their vehicle. They start loading fuel. They pay for the fuel. They disconnect the fuel hose, and then they they pay and they leave the gas station. In the same way, owners of electric vehicles, they come to charging stations which are outfitted with limited number of charging columns, and the owners of electric vehicles, they connect electric cable to their electric vehicle. They identify themselves to the charger. They start loading electric energy to their electric vehicle. They wait for a while inside or outside of their vehicle, and then they leave. They pay for the electric energy loaded in their vehicle, and then they leave. But we estimate that the number of these charging stations is going to become ultimately insufficient to handle the exponentially growing number of electric vehicles. What we're proposing and what we're building products for is the what we call parking lot model, which is an alternative to the gas station model, which the owners of electric vehicles are using in the moment. In the parking lot model, like the number of owners of electric vehicles, they're living in high-rise or low-rise apartment buildings, and these residential buildings are outfitted with a ground floor parking lot or multiple underground floors of parking lots. The products that we're building could be mounted in the parking lots, and owners of electric vehicles, when they come in the evening from work, they can connect electric cable to their electric vehicle. They can identify themselves to the charger with their debit, credit card, their near-field communication card, and their near-field communication uh, keychain token, or their near-field communication rings, which they could be wearing. They could identify themselves to the charger. Then they could request start offloading energy into their car, and they could leave their car charging during the evening, during the night, and during the early morning. But in the same way, these owners of electric vehicles, they could be working in high-rise office buildings, and these high-rise office buildings could be outfitted with a ground floor parking lot or multiple underground floors of parking lot. In the same way, these high-rise office buildings could be outfitted with the types of products that we're building, and the owner of electric vehicle who comes in the morning for work, they could connect a charging cable to their electric vehicle. They could start charging electric energy to their vehicle, and they could leave their electric vehicle to charge during the morning, afternoon, and early evening while they're at work. With this said, I like to tell you the name and the URL of the website of this project. It is power.rstack.com. Power is the ordinary word for power, then there is dot, then there is a word which I can spell it letter by letter. It is Alpha, Romeo, Sierra, Tom, Echo, Charlie, Hotel. Altogether, rstack, then there is dot, and it ends with com. Once again, power.rstack.com. When you go to the main page, you're going to see that we did put 3 different surveys that you can fill, and you can tell us about your needs of charging products. The first survey is about hardware, the second survey is about software, and the third survey is about features of charging products which we could newly build, or we could customize existing products to fit your needs. With this said, I like to tell you about the types of charging products that we're building. They're outfitted with high voltage and high current electric switch. They're outfitted with wireless connection capability. They're outfitted with a current measuring capability, and they're outfitted with a near-field communication reader capability. And they are going to outfit it with 2 or 4 charging cables, which could serve 2 or 4 vehicles in a parking lot stall. With this said, I'm ending talking about this project. I like to tell you the next project that we're working on. This project is building artificial intelligence agents, and the name of the project is AI to AI project. In this project, there are 2 different artificial intelligence entities, and these artificial intelligence entities, they're outfitted each with their own gender, their own avatar, their own voice, which they could speak with, and this voice has their own pitch, and they're outfitted with a specific large language model. And these two AI entities, the user, put a request to each of these entities of the behavior they're going to be exhibiting in this interaction between the two entities. For example, you can put the gender avatar and the voice to be female for this first AI entity, and you can request it by a prompt to be very seductive. And you can request on the second entity to have male voice, male avatar, and male voice pitch. And you can request it by prompt to be very angry. Then you can start this interaction, and then you can enjoy this interaction between the first AI entity, which is female, trying to seduce the second AI entity, which is a male, and the second AI entity responding in an angry manner to the first AI entity. You can put any type of initial prompt for the starting interaction to each of these AI entity. For example, you can put the first AI entity to be a salesman, the second AI entity to be a customer, and you can request the first AI entity to be selling a car or a washing machine to the second AI entity. Then you can request the start of this interaction and enjoy this interaction. With this said, I like to tell you the name and the URL of the website of this project. It is ai2ai.decentralizedweb.org. AI to AI is typed in a way of the letter A, followed by the letter I, followed by the number 2, followed by two other letters A and I. And it is typed all together, AI to AI. Then there is dot, then there are two words which are typed all together, decentralized and web. Then there is dot, and it ends with org. Once again, AI to AI dot decentralizedweb.org. With this said, I'm ending talking about this project, and I'm going to tell you about the last project that we're working on. This last project builds something similar to what company like OpenAI is building. They're building a browser called Atlas, and this browser is integrated with AI capabilities, and it records the interaction of the user, and then it responds accordingly. In the same way, we're building specific software which is going to record the interaction of the user on a browser, but not only on a browser, but also in any type of application on a computer. And then the user is going to combine number of interactions that you did in a specific prompt request. For example, if you have been shopping for a specific food item on a specific website or a number of websites, then you can request the interactions that you made. Then you can label this interaction as shopping for bread, for example. And then the next time you request shopping for bread, the AI is going to do the number of interactions. It is going to present you choices, and then you're going to select the final choice and click to pay for this choice and have it, for example, delivered or picked up at specific store. With this said, I like to tell you that we did not yet release this project. It is under development. We do not have a website, but we are going to tell you the website as soon as the project is released. With this said, I'm ending this presentation. Thank you for listening. Thank you for viewing. Have a nice day. Have a nice evening, and goodbye.